more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And he rose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in the sight, and I am no more worthy to be called thy son. But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe, and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet, and bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For a sermon thought today, a good father. A good father. I started pondering over some good fathers that I used to see on television. I thought about Lucas McCain. You know him in The Rifleman. And he had a little son named Mark, and they were living in about the 1800s in hard times. And Lucas was a tall man. He was a no-nonsense man. He was hard-working. And if you wanted to get his time wrong, you just mess with Mark. He would take that rifle and he would click that thing around a few times and cock it back, and he'd be ready for you. I thought about Archie Bunker. I thought about Archie, how he would sit in his recliner and he'd watch all the news. And he had one daughter and he loved her so much, but she was married to Meathead. He didn't really like Meathead, but because he loved his daughter, he endured Meathead. I thought about all of the fathers. I thought about Dr. Huxtable, you know, Rudy's dad. I thought about how he always had time for his children. I thought about how Rudy had a special place in his heart, and when she had done wrong, she would go and sit on his lap and they would wink eyes with each other. I thought about Jed Clampett. You understand? Ellie Mae, y'all. I thought about how Ellie Mae, she was so pretty, but she was wild as she could be. And Jed Clampett, he just let Ellie have her way. You know, Ellie was unorthodox. Ellie had a chimpanzee up in the mansion. She would bring all kind of critters up in the mansion. She would beat the guests up. If they came in there incorrectly, Ellie would just, you know, beat them. I thought about Fred Sanford and Sanford and Son. You know, he was just a real shady character, you know, sitting in his chair and depending on Lamont for everything and collecting all of that junk. I thought about that because I said my daddy was a collector of junk too. He was just a collector of stuff. When you looked in his little corner, he had a corner you better not mess with it. He had some old Copenhagen cans. He would not throw them cans away like they were going to be something on the stock market at a later time. He would have them all lined up and everything. And then he kept his quarters and his nickels, and you better not get not two of them, because he would understand that the roll looked different. You know, I'm talking about good fathers. There were all kind of good fathers on television. I thought about Mr. Murray. I think he was the father of my 3 sons. I thought about Mike in the Brady Bunch, Mike Brady. Remember him? Mike Brady, I liked him because he was able to take 2 families. One was his, and then his wife had children, and he handled it so masterfully. It's what we call now a blended family. And he never treated his wife's children any differently. I thought about how that made me think of my dad. So, because when my grandmother died in childbirth and had a lot of children, and my mother was the oldest of the children, and so it was her responsibility to take care of her little brothers and sisters. And my dad, he was young, and he didn't really sign up for all of that, but he never said a mumbling word. Whatever he had to do, he just did it, and he brought them on in, and he treated them like it was his own. And if you messed with them, you had trouble with them. And see, my daddy loved me. I just talk about me because, see, I was the baby girl. You understand? I had carte blanche privileges. You understand? My daddy did not play about me. I remember one time I had a part-time job job in high school at Kentucky Fried Chicken, and there was a little manager. He was about 130 pounds, and 100 of that was in his head because he was just full of himself. Amen. And one night, I don't know what demon possessed him to throw me out of the restaurant and lock the door in the night. I called my daddy. My daddy came and got me. He started banging on the door. He wanted an answer from the man. I said, oh my God, don't mess with James Bailey. He used to call me the last button on his shirt. My daddy used to say all kind of stuff. And I used to be a fool and just say what daddy said. Daddy said, you were the last button on my shirt. And I used to get up before I preached and say, my daddy say, I'm the last button on his shirt. And then I started thinking about that. Oh Lord, somebody didn't sound decent. I said, maybe I'm going to cut that loose. And another thing my daddy would say, he would ask people, how your hammer hanging? Oh Lord, have mercy. Oh my God, I used to say that all the time too. Glory be to God. And then I started thinking about that too. How your hammer hanging? I said, I better leave that alone too. Amen. Praise God. Glory be to God. Oh, you know, my dad was very much like Fred in the junkyard business. He didn't have a sense of fashion. You know, he didn't know anything about Calvin Klein or Armani. My dad worked at the city of Naples. They wore brown pants and orange shirt, and then I think they went from brown pants to a green shirt. Well, Monday through Sunday, my dad was in brown pants, a green shirt. I thought he was going to wear that uniform at my wedding. I said, Mama, we're going to have to do something. We're going to have to... And my dad had a short temper. He did not play the radio. Matter of fact, Monday through Friday, I really wasn't sure if I liked him. Hallelujah. But I like to tell the truth now. Back in the day, my dad was what you call a weekend drunk. Somebody say amen. My dad would get under that tree and he would get what he called naughty head. And he would start on Friday evening after work. He wasn't not going to drink during the week because he believed in providing for his family. He wasn't playing that. And he would start getting sober on Sunday evening. On Sunday, you would not go Friday and Saturday, he was going to tear the house down. I loved my daddy on the weekend. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because there was nothing that I showed up, excuse my language, I showed up, could not get from my dad on the weekend. He would say, what you need, babe? What you want? And he would tell everybody at the hangout spot, this my baby. If I wanted pig feet, hot sausage, lily dilly, whatever. He didn't even care what went in his change box when he was like that. Amen. Hallelujah. He was a great father, and he could not stand to see any of his children in need. He was a very benevolent and kind person, even though he did not play, but he also knew that everything he had was for the family. If my dad got paid $736.56, he would keep $36.56, and my mom was going to get $700 because I feel good. Honey, I ain't trying to throw nothing out at you. Amen. And he took care of her, and she could go and she could back, and she was a wise woman. She wasn't foolish with her money. She wasn't foolish in any kind of way. And she'd go and buy anything, big old flowers and bronze vases, $700. She'd walk James, you like it, Edna? You